sorry, can we do that again, please? I'm sorry. All right, we'll start with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That was much. Okay. I think we'll start, I know those bid openings are up there, but let's go ahead and do our community people, what we've got here. Sue?
Yep.
What do you need?
I have two things I would like to talk about tonight.
Okay.
One is, do we know if we're gonna have recycling or not? Did you get your surveys back?
We did, and the vast majority of them, although people expressed interest in it, they don't wanna pay for it. And we can't pay for it out of town funds, I mean, it's just too much money. And, as far as a dumpster, we haven't finalized that with the city, but we're not gonna do, pretty sure we're not gonna go back to having one available all the time. We may do some kind of quarterly maybe, or something, big dumpsters for trash, maybe even a recycling dumpster, I don't know. But, we just don't have the funds, town doesn't have the funds to do it, so.
I've got so much recycling and I've been putting off going to Osgood. So I
Yeah,
thought
yeah, you
I'd
might as
find
well
out.
take it to Osgood, okay?
Especially the boxes.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, and I guess this is mostly with Randall, and I'm very glad that the streets are cleaned. I'm very, very glad. But I live at 813 Fern Drive in Oakland subdivision. Please don't put it in front of my driveway or my mailbox, because my daughter had to physically pick it up a week afterwards and throw it. Now, I have two lots, and one of them has something to do with fiber. I don't know if it would hurt to put it on there, but you can put it in my front yard. I don't care. Just don't block my mailbox or my driveway, please.
So that driveway is between you and the next house, right? The next house down, Pat's house.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, the mailbox is right by it, so
Yeah,
you can't miss it.
okay.
Although
Yeah, the guys did a great job with that, but there was just so much of
I know, and I was stuck I I couldn't even get out in boots. It went over my boots.
it. Yeah, yeah,
And so, the boots I had anyway.
yeah.
And, so on the next Thursday, Eric and Aaron came up. I was just gonna go out and get my
And
stuff.
scoot it out of the way. I know, there were people in our subdivision that were complaining they didn't get mail, and Bob just posted, said, you gotta clean out in front of your mailbox.
Yeah.
They can't get those, in front there, but, okay. All right,
That's
anything
all
else?
I needed.
All right, thank you, dear. Mel?
Yes, good evening, how are you?
Oh, we're okay.
I'm just here waiting on you guys to open.
To open the bids, okay.
Yeah, and I'm just here to be here.
Okay, very good. Glad you're here. Good to see you again. Ben?
Apologize, it's been a bit.
Oh, have you been busy?
But December I wasn't here because I was being grandpa, so I Christmas program.
Oh, well, good for you. Okay, good job, Papa.
And in January, I think we had a call.
Yeah, I think you did.
But, so at the top of this one, I just gave you the numbers for 2025 since you haven't seen
Okay.
it yet. 670 calls for the year, our second busiest in history. 1,875 man hours on scene. Average response time is 9 minutes and 37 seconds, which is pretty doggone good for a volunteer fire department.
Okay.
Total training hours, we had 1,183. Since we've had 149 calls since my last report in December, 50 calls in January, 66 for the year so far to date.
Okay.
Highlights of calls, we've had 5 structure fires, chimney fire, 2 extrication calls. We had to go help Osgood with one because they didn't have enough people. And then we had one south of town that was a pretty high impact accident. And
Mhm.
I'll brag on my firefighters, they did a heck of a job cutting 4 people out in less than 20 minutes. Had 2 gas leaks, 3 car fires, I don't know why, and then a camper fire. We assisted New Marion twice, Holton once, Osgood 3 times. And then we went to Campbell Township, which on the other side of Butlerville, Jennings County, for a fire. They were
Okay.
short people, so we
Okay.
sent a crew of help. We did have a crew at the station during that winter storm. We were there from Saturday evening till Monday evening.
Okay.
Do have a new deputy chief, you see the numbers down at the bottom, Rick Dillon, I don't know if you know Rick, but he lives over
Yeah.
here
Okay.
on the road. Jamie was our deputy chief, but his schedule's just too busy, he had to give something up, still in the department, just not serve as deputy chief anymore. Just want to bring, I don't know if you guys pay attention to House bills or not.
Well, we try to, especially when they affect us.
House Bill 1315, which passed the House, went to the Senate, and Senate Bill 270, which has passed the Senate, went to the House, and they're both dealing with local government reform, particularly townships.
I kind of watched some of that.
1315, in fact, goes through, as it's written right now, in the townships of Ripley County. So all under the
They'll
6,700
just be all
threshold.
gone.
And so what that means is fire service will be provided. And the unincorporated is about the county. So I'm not sure how that's gonna shake out. The language in 270, the Senate bill is a little different. So I'm on the legislative committee for State Fire Chiefs Association. We think we're gonna be somewhere in between those two bills.
Okay.
But whatever comes out of there, we could be seeing a significant change in the volunteer fire service in the state. The other thing that we were looking at is 1210. There's some fixes in there for Senate Bill 1. I don't know if you realized last year Senate Bill 1 did away with the lit tax.
Mhm.
It's sunset. We have an amendment in there right now where we're trying to make it sunset at 29 instead of the end of this year. So if that passes, we'll push it for a couple of years,
Okay.
which will help. With that as well, there was a lit bill put in there. Their fix is a 0.4% lit tax for fire departments. Of course,
Okay.
we try to tell them that people are gonna think that's a new tax, even though you take care of the old, getting rid of the old tax. But, so if this lit sunsets, you probably expect us to be coming to you to go to the county and ask for that 0.4 lit. Otherwise, we'll be right back in the same boat for funding. It still won't generate as much as the lit.
Yeah.
But there's something to watch, see how it shakes out. I did bring this.
If you get to a point where you think we need to express concern, just let me know, because we can draft.
It's gonna pass.
Okay, it's gonna
The
pass.
Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate will say it's gonna pass.
Okay.
And the governor said he's gonna sign it. So, I think it's gonna happen. It's just gonna be somewhere in between those two bills. This, what I'm giving you now is just a new billing thing for the Indiana State Fire Marshal's Office. You probably saw it on Osgood's Facebook, everybody having a heart attack.
Oh, I did see that.
All of this
And I
does
told
is
Bob,
increase.
yeah.
It just increases the amount that we're allowed to bill for calls and so forth. Procedure for our department's always been that we try to get it out of the insurance companies.
Mhm.
You know, if somebody loses their home, don't have,
Yeah.
go after that. But we just go after the insurance companies. And then, of course, if it's a truck or hazmat, we go for all of it from
Do
the
you?
trucking company. And we've got a couple truck, the wrecker up here, they usually hold the truck until they pay our bill, so they work pretty good for us on that. But you guys have to prove that we can do this before we can do it.
We have to approve this?
Yeah, you just have to say that if you want, you need to let your lawyer look at it, you can.
Yeah,
But,
I think we should do that.
Right now, we've got the other
Background.
one, we use the old one. If you look on the second page, it talks 500 per vehicle, initial response.
Yeah.
Currently, it's 250, so
Okay.
they just raised that, and it hadn't been raised in probably 20 years. So,
Okay.
our marshal raised it.
Okay, I will have Lynn look at that, and then we'll try to make that approval.
And when
do that
I
approval.
publish it, it won't be on Facebook.
You did what?
I won't publish it on Facebook.
Oh, good.
We'll be a little more
Yeah, we got
official
enough
about
stuff,
that.
we gotta deal with.
And
Yeah, we appreciate that.
And then the other thing, the new bill's it's passed in the House, it's actually a Democratic bill, but it passed unanimously in the House, and it's passed unanimously, it's gonna pass unanimously in the Senate. It's to increase the clothing allowance for volunteer firefighters. Currently, it's $200 that we pay our guys every year, and it's increasing it to $500 a year. So, it sounds wonderful, but here's the catch, the state's not putting any funding in it. So I'm looking at probably a $12,000 to $13,000 hit on my budget if that law passes.
Ooh.
So just give me a
Say
heads
that
up.
again, how much?
It's gonna be 12,000 to 13,000 by the number of people that we have.
Okay.
But by law, we'll have to pay it. So, anyway, just giving you a heads up on that. Just
Okay.
a lot of good stuff.
Needs to approve this.
The biggest thing I'm concerned about is those bills with the townships.
Yes.
What's gonna happen.
I have been following some of that.
I don't know if you want.
I'll try to follow more diligently.
if you've been watching throughout the state, a lot of fire departments have been consolidating.
Okay,
And it's
yeah,
because of people issue. The only reason I would be against that is, I don't wanna consolidate somebody who doesn't have enough people just so we can provide the service for free, kind of
Yeah.
deal. So we gotta be careful about that.
yeah.
You know, I don't mind consolidating if we
Maybe
get
a
the
lot
money.
of, wouldn't that mean more time to get?
It will.
I
It's,
mean,
it's
to
gonna,
get to the
Well,
department, get the
everybody-
truck out and get out of there, unless, you know,
I don't wanna say
keep
too
your
much,
locals.
it's being recorded, but, in a way, you think that, but in a way it doesn't. I mean,
Really?
we've been holding twice and they haven't even showed up, so,
Okay,
so it's not gonna make it any quicker. 'Cause
Okay.
they're coming, there'll be nobody there.
okay.
Which bill did you say was gonna pass?
It's, it'll be some version of House Bill 1315
And Senate.
and Senate Bill 270. Our lobbyist thinks the language is gonna be somewhere in between those two,
Okay.
in conference committee.
Okay. So I mean, we look those up. Okay, well, thank you, Bill, appreciate that. Streets and utilities, got that report. Oh, wait a minute, hold on a minute. Yes, Connie Clifford, I'm sorry. I jumped down to my other part. Connie, what you need?
So I have something for your consideration. And I'll be honest, when I drive past, my mother-in-law used to live past Payne-Burn right there. And typically when I go past it, my kids have played there, you know, through baseball and softball, and I loved it. I just don't see any kids there. Now basketball, yes. So just for your consideration, maybe a dog park. If there's one spot that's not, actually me and my newest pup was there, and there's one spot that's open, the rest of them are all closed. But like, I typically take like down to Aurora, I'm not for sure if Batesville has one, but I have people from the park, like even for Halloween, that come up and they bring their dogs with them, and I have dog treats because they come up for trick or treating. And that's one of the biggest things that people tell me is, I wish you had a dog park. Because, I mean, we love them, they're part of our family, and I walk mine throughout town, which is wonderful, and I have 2 city lots, which is great. I have partially fenced in, and then I have an underground fence, or a wireless fence, so they can run at my house. But a lot of people don't have that,
No.
and it would just be such a draw to our community, especially like people that are traveling, and I just think it would be great. So, but, and there may be a different spot, but that spot, the fence is there. And it's, I mean, it would be wonderful. It was, I mean, it's just a great thing, and it has a lot of memories with my kids. And to bring that back with my fur babies, I mean, it would just be a great spot, and it's right there centrally located.
Somebody did mention that to me, actually, they mentioned that you were gonna mention it.
Yeah,
I think you
thought
told me that, but in any case, you know, there's probably some room beyond that fence. I'm not sure I really wanna do it inside the fence because of the ball field, but there is room to fence more, you know, along the outside there. We'll take a look at it. Take a look at it.
And just like in through town, I mean, you know, just encouraging people to pick up. I know.
I know,
I
that
mean,
has been a problem.
It's, you know.
Yes, yeah. If they'll just carry a little bag with them,
And
pick it up and
if they're
take it to
leaving
the,
gloves in
we've
the
got
bag.
trash cans all around the square there. And so there's no excuse for that, you know. I know down at our church, we have issues with that,
Yeah.
you know. They bring their dogs right up there on the sidewalk, right next to the bushes and.
And it's respect for
Yeah.
your neighbors.
And that's, there is an ordinance that says you can't do that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe Joe, maybe that's one we need to kind of pay attention to.
Hammer wall.
There you go. All right.
But there are some spots we avoid because I know that they do have those spots, so we walk the other side, so I'm going,
Yeah.
so that way it doesn't encourage ours.
To do it, good job, good
So,
job.
but yeah, yeah,
Okay.
I just think it would be a great pull for this community and to advertise it that, hey, listen, we do have this dog park available, you
Yeah.
know?
Okay, we'll consider it, okay?
I
Give you that
appreciate
much.
it.
All right, thank you. All right, let's go back then to, let's open some bids. Which ones you want to do, CCMG first maybe? All right.
We've got 3 bids. This is for CCMG 25-2.
I got 24 on my thing here, it's 25.
This is crack seal work.
Okay. Okay, so what we traditionally do then is
We
we'll
need to send them with
send those
Jill.
with Jill and Police Standard Rank will go through those bids, make sure everything's in order, and we will
And then I need you to go ahead and take a vote to
accept
accept
the
their
lowest,
recommendation.
yeah, their recommendation, which would typically be the lowest responsible bid.
And then, because I have to have this all back to CCMG or to NDOT
Okay.
by like next week.
By next week. Okay, so I'm gonna make the motion that,
Contracts.
tag the contracts.
Contracts, so as soon as possible.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion that pending the review of the bids, we accept the lowest responsible bid and the recommendation of the Standard Ranks Consulting Engineering Firm. Second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? All right. God, we took care of one set anyway.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All right, are we ready to move on?
All right, this is, the Highway Safety Comprehensive Action Plan. This is our Safe Streets and Roads for All grant that we were awarded last December. So this is a federal grant to do the road safety study. And we have five. I think I sent this out to 11 firms. That was several, and then,
Okay,
so first
so
is
you got 5 out of the 11 back?
Lockmiller.
You got it.
Okay. This will be, we will take these, you know, our committee will review each of these. There really isn't a review tonight. It'll just be, we've got Lockmiller. And then our committee will review each of the proposals. We'll select, those that we want to bring forward for interview. Interview them probably at the end of this month, if we get those scheduled, and then select, and hopefully have one that we think that we'll go to move forward with at our next meeting.
Okay. So committee's gonna review, and they'll recommend 3 probably, or 2?
Likely three
Okay.
to move forward with. Okay. This is Burgess and Nyepel.
What is it?
Burgess, I think it's Nyepel, N-I-P-L-E.
Okay.
Okay. And then we've got Kimley Horn.
I'm not heard of the Birches and Nyepel wood in the moment, but just we got it in the list. I know Lockmiller's, that's,
Yeah, this is Lockdale.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean,
I sent it to, all of the, recommended ones from Indianapolis Metro.
okay,
What, you know, they
so
gave
they're,
me a
they're,
list.
okay.
To, alright. This one is HWC. Yeah.
tell me what, you need a committee, and what's the plan with that?
You're gonna get voluntold.
Well, actually, this gal might do, if you can do it on Monday,
Okay.
she could,
Yeah.
she could do that. And I think that'd be good for somebody else to go through
Yeah.
that process.
Yep, and then I would like, someone from the streets department and police department to review as well.
Okay. So that looks like Joe and Randall, doesn't it?
Well, it's safety action, so it's like actual traffic flow and striking and, also traffic, speed, all that good stuff, so we'll be available like Monday, we can sit down with these.
Sure.
Okay, all right, we do that, Renee?
5 o'clock in the morning, what's that?
I don't think it's gonna be that. I don't think you need to drag Holly out of bed, that,
This coming
maybe.
Monday.
Well, Monday is actually a holiday, isn't it?
You figured you're out of it, I know.
You're not.
Nice try, Randall.
We working anyways.
Yeah.
Um,
I got the
President's
registration
Day.
at 6 o'clock, so we might as well just do it Monday morning at 6 o'clock.
Are you guys closed on? Yeah.
can you do Tuesday night? Give her, figure out a time. And if you can't, I will, but I think it'd be nice if you could do it,
Yeah, that's fine.
just because I think,
I should be able to do something.
Okay. How about you just let us know on a time that works for you Tuesday? Probably need, plan on a couple hours. Okay. Awesome.
all right,
That's
did I
good.
take care of all that?
That takes care of all that.
Yay! Now the consent agenda. And, Sarah's got the minutes, I believe, from last month's meeting as well as the 2 special meetings we held for the rec league things. And so Josh and I attended both those and you've read those minutes, so in just a minute, we'll do all this at once. And we've got Ben's report and you got, Randall's and Randall again. I didn't hear any complaints about the snow, I'm sure there were some, but I thought you guys did a fantastic job, and I had several people say, one person even over at the bank said, I had to go to, what'd you tell me she went? Milan, and she said, I just was slip sliding all over the streets because they weren't clear, so our streets were clear, and we appreciate that, and hope we've seen the last of the snow this year. Okay? We got Joe's reports. Joe, I didn't get anything though for code enforcement.
It's covered up with snow.
Okay, will be next month, right? Won't.
If the snow's gone.
All right, and community development, Holly, got your report. I did have, well, you answered this question. This was the committee thing. And then, we're gonna talk about the water and sewer projects, but, and you can talk about the other stuff then. Is that okay? All right, and then I don't think, oh, you wanna talk about the Madison Blight property though? It's in the report, but can you kind of elaborate on that a little bit? Madison Electronics, I'm sorry.
I told you about
I
that
said-
separately. Cersei had SME, which is a company that does, like phase 1 and phase 2, environmental studies, like that we had to do on the pocket park because of the dry cleaners, that we had to do on Greater Gas because of the gas. They came and spoke at, a meeting at Cersei last fall sometime, and, they were doing, they called like light tours in town, and, came and I took them on a drive all around Versailles, looking at, our various properties
well, it's good to be included, I think.
Yeah.
You know, that CERC, they do a lot of good stuff, and it's nice that, you know, we can look ahead to some of that stuff. Okay.
And at a minimum, like the plan is for SME to go after the grant money when that opens up again for phase 1 and phase 2, so that if there are other properties in town that we need that to
We need
help
more.
secure a sale or even to
Yeah.
move forward something, you know, that money should be available too.
That's great. That's good, because that hasn't been available for a while now.
Yeah. I think the pocket park was in the last.
Part of it. That's been 4 or 5 years ago now that we bought it. Okay, all right, thank you. We've already taken care of claims, so let's go back to the consent agenda, and I'll accept a motion to accept the minutes of the 3 meetings, which we'll need to sign, and also the department reports and the list of checks paid. So, okay, second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay, and we need to stop and sign first. 32. That was a regular meeting. It's hard to do in that book when you get it on that side. I couldn't get it over there. There you go. All right, we're done with that. While they're finishing there, the next item in our, or first item in our old business is the Noble Properties, the quadplex that we've been working on, and Mr. Strand did not show again tonight, so I will let Lynn know on that, and we'll see what our next step is there. This has been a real problem, trying to get it taken care of and keep things moving, but we'll look to Lynn for some direction on that one. So then next up, are you ready, Miss Jill? Jill Curry is here from Fleece Van Brink, and going to help us understand the sewer rate study and the water rate study, and hopefully she can put it in a little simpler terms so that we all get a pretty good understanding of it.
Well, I've got 2 handouts. One that kind of gives an overview of the possible projects. You've already heard a little bit about some of them, I think, at the end of last year. And then the other is some additional information on some rates from around the state and some other communities, either we worked with or I personally live near or et cetera. So I wanted to be able to provide kind of some more context to the rate studies as well. And so I don't know if you've had a chance to review what Baker Tilly was able to put together and provide, gosh, about a week ago, I think. And so essentially, starting with the drinking water, as you all remember, last year we completed the engineering studies for stormwater, drinking water, and wastewater. And those plans provided recommended projects, which we've been tweaking since that time to verify, you know, that those projects are meeting the highest needs. Since that time, you know, we've clarified about the tank maintenance contract for the drinking water, the large tank. And so that project has come out because there's already a maintenance contract for that tank painting, those coatings, which means that annually you pay a portion of funds to a company to agree to maintain that tank long term. So since that's already taken care of, we've revised the scope, so you'll see what we've listed here kind of as the revised scope. We've basically moved up the number of meter setters and pits and service lines we'll be addressing in order to get the full new metering system for the drinking water system installed in one fell swoop, as opposed to phasing it in over time. And that's the major thing we had the rate consultants look at, is what would be the difference between just doing the project in one fell swoop versus phasing it in over time. So and backing up just a little bit, because one thing we're always doing is looking for how are we gonna fund this, right? And so what has kind of made it urgent tonight to make a decision is that last summer, secure grant money, which is OCRA, the Office of Community and Rural Affairs, they changed their rules on what types of projects can apply in their 2 rounds for water and wastewater, depending on your local match you're gonna contribute. So when we're looking at potentially a drinking water project, we're looking at, okay, when does OCRA allow us to apply? They allow us to either apply in June or December. And so the next round we're looking at is June, which really we need to start, you know, yesterday. and the round that will apply in June, the local match sources you can have in that round are basically either cash on hand or a bank loan, or USDA, but I think I mentioned maybe at last year's meetings, USDA funding with all of the different changes in, you know, the federal level has had cuts, and I'll talk a little bit about some of the changes to funding and earmarks and some of the things that have been happening. But really for OCRA, for the June round, it's cash on hand, or if you're gonna do a bank loan. Because if you have the state revolving fund, the SRF program as match, that would not be allowed for that June round because of how the timing between the 2 agencies works. So, that being said, we were initially saying, okay, well, if the water utility would have funds on hand, we could do some of these items and maybe have enough cash on hand to match an OCRA grant. And I think there is, OCRA, in order to leverage $750,000 from OCRA, you have to have at least $1 million project. And that would mean you guys would need to come up with at least $250,000. One thing about OCRA is they do score their grant applications, so you have to compete for the funds. And one of the scoring criteria is your local match percentage. So the higher match you have, the more competitive you are to get the funds. So that's, you know, so you don't want to come in with just the bare minimum if you can avoid it. We have had communities do that. It just takes them a couple times to apply, up to 3 times, which Mary and Serpsey, that's one of the projects several years ago, it took us 3 times to apply just because the match wasn't very high and it didn't help them compete. So as we're looking at the needs, and we were talking to Randall, and I think Roxanne and Sarah have discussed, we really need to get these final meters changed out so we can get everybody on the same metering system, get our billing really consistent and on the same technology. Also, the service lines connected to these meter setters, as Randall will tell you, you know, when he and his team, as they've been going out to change out and find locations where they can change out meters, some of them they just have to skip, because they will open it up, they see what the conditions are, and those 300 in town that they've skipped basically so far are where the service line and the meter setter materials are such that trying to modify it, it would start causing leaks, and or there already are leaks in the system there. Some of that will be helpful if we do apply to OCRA to talk about these leaks, these aged components we have, and why it's really critical to get it out. In addition to how helpful it will be for the billing side, how helpful it will be for property owners who have the most updated, you know, billing system to catch leaks in their own system. So all of that could lead to potentially a project that would, you know, for OCRA purposes, present well. We also, in that project, would be taking down the small tank, which is currently not utilized in the system. It's definitely needs to come down, hopefully within the next 2 years. And so again, we're looking at this timeline of trying to get it down if we can here in the next 2 years, just to come down. So, and then there's a couple hydrants as well, hydrants for fire safety. You know, all these, we need to make sure they're all operational and functional, so a couple hydrants as well that we're looking at. So the scope of work we've presented here. We gave Baker Tilly the option to either only do 200 of these 300 that need to be done, plus some of the service lines, and phase it in, and then the other 100 would have to be phased in over time. And we compared that to just doing it all in one fell swoop, but that would require a bank loan, whereas the smaller project would only utilize your 250 to 300, 350, whatever was available, cash on hand. If we did the cash on hand option, it would keep your rate increase necessary for operations. I believe that was at about 57 and change dollars. If you go to the rate study, I don't know if you had a rate study. So if you're curious, that rate study really thoroughly, identifies the different options. So, the option, what they call the scaled back version, yeah, what they call the scaled back version, and he listed it in his email, so I may go to sheet and just read his email to you. The scaled back version of the water would raise the rates to $57.32 a month. $57.32 a month is what the scaled back.
And that's for 4,000 gallons.
And that's for, yes, I will note, that is for a 4,000 gallon bill, which does not necessarily mean, so some of your smaller households, single person homes in town do not use full 4,000 gallons of water. But 4,000 gallons is the standard gallons that all the state agencies look at to be able to compare town to town and utility to utility. So that's what we are also looking at tonight. So for $57.32, you would be able to do the scaled back scenario, and then bring, those costs, the regular operational costs you already have to start covering would be included in that $57.32. Now, if we did a larger project and were able to replace the full 300 in one fell swoop, that would take the rates. Now I think this number could be less, because we do need to still talk to the rate advisor about using some of that cash on hand to maybe not borrow as much money. And he doesn't have that in there. But worst case scenario, he's basically saying $59.24. So for less than $2 difference, in one fell swoop, we would be able to change out. And I think there's even some, if you can change it all at once, there's some cost savings for over the years. Each year, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like 3,000 a year.
Yeah.
So, if we had to put that out for 4 or 5 years, 15,000 as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I think if we looked at, as we get closer to the final actual installation, we'll know, more about at that time, what this final bill will be. But I think worst case scenario, we're looking at $59.24. And what we need to know tonight, so that CERC can start moving this grant forward for the June application, which even will be next month at your town board meeting. We would have a public hearing, and there would be a proposal process and then a final application with a final public hearing. We need to know if this budget you have on that page, that first page I've shown you, it's actually, I missed $100 under the financing fee, so it's actually $1,960,000, which again, I think those costs are at the highest end, and we will, before June, nail this down a little closer. But $1,960,000 is basically that worst case scenario, which then takes it to that $59.24 a month bill, as opposed to $57.32 if you waited and over another 5 years tried to phase in the final 100 that need to be done. And one thing they've done is, in order to keep the rates low, you have one loan that'll be paid off by about 2031, 2032. So once that loan's paid off, then the payments for this loan will increase. And I think with any loan, you can always pay it off early. I think
That timing is really good for us. But,
yes.
For budgeting purposes.
I'll just finish going through these items, and then I'll point you to that second sheet, just so you can comparatively see rates outside of what Baker Tilly provided you, to kind of know other towns in the state are very similar or have higher water rates. Even though it's an increase, your current water rate is $47.76, so this proposed project would take it to $59.24. Like I said, the debt would have delayed principal payments until the other debt is paid off. And we would be looking at a $750,000 Oprah grant, and again, this revenue bond, or whether it could be a bank loan too, that's what I think we need to discuss with Baker Tilly as well, because I think we could go down that path between now and June and
I do
finalize
too.
that.
We got that loan, the one we're paying on now, that was voluntary friendship, so.
Yes, yes.
I like the idea of somebody local.
Yes, yes. So I think this again is worst case scenario, because I think, but that's the project we're looking next page, if you flip over to the back side, is the timeline. So looking at having a public hearing at March 10th at the meeting, and then again at your May meeting. Okra grant application is June 7th. Okra typically would announce that grant award in August. We would then immediately start design and get IDEM construction permits and go to construction in early 2027, which means installing all of these final 300 meter pits and service lines, taking down the tank in 2027, in that early, before the end of the year, 2027. So that would be our recommendation, and that was also the financial advisor's recommendation. For the small $2 difference, for the impact it's gonna actually have on just the operations of your water system, we would recommend, you know, if you approve it, to go ahead and get the steps underway for the Okra grant application, to apply then by June 7th. And that would allow us to get the public hearing ads going. There'll be some public meetings as well, where we do ask the public to come out and provide their support for the project and explain some of the needs. And so that would be, I guess, the request from drinking water system for tonight.
Okay.
Questions?
The survey has been deployed, online, it's also gonna be in the March water bills, and then we have a public engagement session tomorrow at 6, and then Thursday at 1.
Okay.
So we've got all that underway to whatever decision is made here as far as
6
which
PM
one.
tomorrow night here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1 PM Wednesday here
Yes.
for concerned
Thursday.
people, or Thursday, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Thursday. And residents that are concerned, come talk to us. These are things that, you know, nobody wants to raise the rates. You know, we have to pay the rates too, so we don't want to raise them. But these are things that need to be done. And, you know, it's causing water loss, and we've got all kinds of other, you know, issues we've known for a while, and we need to do it, but it's kind of a lengthy process. The rate study thing's gone on for a year, and like maybe last summer. You know, so we're talking a year and a half now, that we finally been able to get everything together and you know, get some harder numbers. Will you explain, for the good of the group, so if we do choose those 3 incremental increases, which I think we're leaning towards that, we've talked about that on a couple of occasions, but that third, depending on how the numbers all work out in the end, that third number could be adjusted.
Yes.
So if these numbers are at the high end, then that third increase would not be 1/3 of the total, it would be less, correct?
Right.
Of course, there's always a possibility to be more too, but I think the numbers are high.
Right.
So I think we've got a better shot at not hitting all of that,
Right.
you know, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, so with water, that final increase that would be required to borrow the funds.
Right.
That amount would be adjusted, you know, based on actually the bid amounts and the
Mhm.
final amounts
Mhm.
necessary. I will say, you know, Okra typically allows you, even though at the front end we say we're gonna put in $300,000 in cash and we're gonna borrow this much, if by then you have 350 saved and you wanna put in a little more to borrow less, you know, we can request of Okra and say, our match is changing slightly, it's still the same amount, but we would request swapping out some of the loan and putting a little more cash on hand in the
Okay, that's good to know too, because our water account's in pretty decent shape.
Yeah,
That might be okay
yeah,
when we get ready to close.
yes,
Great,
so,
good. All right, so you need to know then if we're gonna do full scale or scale back. And you also need to know about the incremental raises, if we wanna do for 3. Are there any other things you need to know right this minute?
I think, yeah, if you, Baker Tilly, I think at next month's meeting
Yeah.
would then present the raise you would need for the operational purpose, and then we would have that secondary raise for the loan that would go into effect. Typically, it goes into effect about the time we go to construction, which would be again the 1st of next year.
Okay.
So there would be a rate increase now to take care of operational needs, and then a rate increase early next year once that final.
I think we're still around. think we need to discuss what we want for sure. I'm personally, I'm leaning towards the full scale. I just think if we put it off, it's gonna end up costing us a whole lot more, cost the customers a whole lot more than $2 a month. It's gonna be more like $5. Those costs just keep rising, so I'm in favor of that. I don't know what you two think about that. And then I think we have to, I think I wanna take the recommendation from Baker Tilly to do 3 incremental raises instead of slapping it all out there on one time. And that gives our residents a chance to work it into their budgets. And like I said, we don't wanna do this, but it is something that just has to be done. You know, raises, the water rates have not been raised for 10 years, and people should be aware because we announced it multiple times last May, June, July, August, that, you know, we purchase our water, and Jill and I had a conversation this afternoon about that, purchasing water, and basically said our rates are gonna be higher just because we purchase water. We have no other choice here in this town. There is no other water supply that we can access, so we have to purchase our water. And unfortunately, the water rates went up on June the 19th, I believe was the date, wasn't it? I think it was June 19th. And they went up 25.45%. So the raise that's happening to the customers' water bills probably isn't going to exceed that. And so we're covering that, but we're still getting this needed maintenance work done. And so I think that's pretty important too. So I don't know, what do you guys talk? Tell me what you think. Full scale? Full scale? All right, and what about the number of increments then?
Here is on page 13 is the proposed 3 phases, which again, I think that last phase, either the second or third phase, depending on the final timing, would be the ones we could scale back.
Okay.
Definitely the third phase.
Yeah, okay. So I think they're looking at.
This one doesn't say, in the sewer study, it does suggest like immediately here, and then one in January, let's see.
Yeah, I think it's January 27 and July 27.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And you know, that's something we should think about too. Do we want to do both water and sewers on those 3 dates? I think we should try to stagger that a little so they're not hitting both of them. I mean, they're gonna pay them both, but at least they're not paying them that same month every time. You know, it's, you know, maybe, you know, we do like a January, July, July, December, or whatever, and then we do maybe, I don't know, if we can put one of them off for a little longer, which is probably gonna be the water, because I think our water account's in better shape, lots better shape than the sewer. So maybe, you know, we don't do that first water one until a little bit later. Maybe we do that like in September, and then in March, and then in September. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll have to look at that.
Yeah. I think for next month, we could potentially come back with a 2-phase increase and then leave that third one pending.
Okay.
Until we know more about the final loan
Okay.
amount. And he kind of mentioned that on our call, that at least to get the operational pieces done within the next, basically,
Yeah. Okay.
8-10 months.
Yeah.
By
Get that part
January
ready.
next year. So we can, yeah, I think,
Okay.
have that recommended. But yeah, if you guys want to decide, it's, yeah.
All right, so are we kind of in agreement? Then I'm gonna make a motion that we move forward with Baker Tilly and the recommendations there, that we will go with a full-scale project, so we can get everything done at one time and we can be done with the Badger meters, and that we do 3 incremental rate increases, and we'll have to kind of decide timeframes on those. We can talk, you and I can talk a little more about that and figure that out. So that's my motion. It's kind of. All right, second, I got a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we got that part done.
Right, so now the more
The hard
significant
one.
and large project, which is the sanitary sewer. And, so you guys heard end of last year and kind of reiterating what you learned early last year as well. Sanitary sewer system, is dealing with just a lot of flows, especially imagine right now, Randall, even today. this table, this was from the study looking at more through 2024, but you can see on a day where we've got either snow melting, like 7 inches of snow that melted in February of 22, or
Do we
rain.
have that? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Sorry, it's this wastewater.
Oh, it's still on there, okay.
Sorry, yeah.
I gotta pull it back out.
Over on the
Got
one
it.
that says,
Oh, it's on the other side. Okay.
yeah, it's flipped to the, yeah.
Okay, got all
it's
that.
there.
That's
Sorry
fine.
about
Okay, I'm there.
So your current treatment plant flow design is 500,000 gallons per day. And the peak is 2 million gallons per day. That doesn't necessarily mean your lift stations, your 2 main lift stations are handling that volume well to get it to the plant, and they are not. And there are bypass events, which means that when those lift stations can't handle it, the sanitary sewer, which at that time does have quite a bit of storm water in it, is bypassing directly to the creek or waterway. So, and Randall has to do bypass reports. So, IDEM's aware of that, he has to do the reporting. We have, basically in the PER then recommended a new wastewater treatment plant, improvements project to take the design flow to 750,000 and the peak design flow to 3 million, which you can see already some at points you have gotten up against that peak flow. On February 18th, there was 2022, there was 1.9 million. But keep in mind, that doesn't include what was bypassing to the creek. So that volume was actually probably significantly higher. So these volumes are only what we could actually calculate got to the plant. It wasn't what was included in bypass events. So the project you see itemized below in the table there with cost estimates. The first two items, manhole rehabilitation, sanitary sewer rehabilitation or replacement. Those would mean getting into the actual collection system to try and eliminate those locations where that stormwater is getting into the system and causing these spikes. That is a difficult task. It is kind of chasing but it's something you have to do to try and replace broken sewers, aged sewers. But what to keep in mind is of any of this scope, those are probably the two that if we got later on in the project and we needed to reduce scope, we could maybe peel those two pieces out and try to apply for a future Okra grant or something else to do at least a portion of that. I think we need to keep a portion of it in, but that's, you know, maybe 500,000 to $1 million. If we got later in the project and we were finding that we weren't getting as much subsidy or grant as we might want, and we needed to scale it back, we could try and do that at that point. But it's one of those things, again, where when you scale back, we think right now, with funding, we need to keep moving forward, and I'll talk a little bit about the different funding sources we're gonna pursue with the full project, assuming we might get some subsidy from somewhere. And at a later date, if we need to, typically these funding agencies, SRF in particular is the one we're looking at, State Revolving Fund. If we need to scale back slightly in one of the two categories, it would be one of those first top categories, because we could phase that in later through another grant potentially or something else, okay? But the next three items are pretty critical to address. We've got some improvements at Graham Creek and TP lift stations. We also have Sawmill lift stations. So this is the lift station that collects a majority of, not a majority, but a significant flow. It's the oldest areas of town here. It's pretty much the whole northern half of town, more or less, plus a portion in the central. Flows to this lift station. We would be replacing that lift station, expanding it, and then also doing a whole new force main to get that sewage from here closer to the treatment plant more directly, which means it's not going to be bypassing. We're going to size it so that it's not bypassing and having those violations. So far, IDEM has not placed the town under an agreed order or anything, but that is the type of violations they watch for and probably have talked to you about over time. Is you really need to try and figure out some projects to manage these flows so we're not bypassing.
Can you explain, just for the sake of public knowledge,
Yes.
what the what would happen if they did put us on a ban, a sewer ban?
So, yes, so they would, first of all, if they think that the treatment plant doesn't have enough capacity to handle flows, which is why we want to make sure we're designing it for appropriate flows when we do start sending it there. They could look at, if you're running at constantly 90% But if it gets to a point where they don't think you can handle the sanitary sewer you currently have, they will put you on a ban, which means you can't add other houses or new commercial customers to your system.
Okay.
Not just that,
Serious.
they will place you under an agreed order, which means you have to have an enforced compliance plan, and every quarter be reporting on actions you're taking to reduce. So we're not on that yet, but this is what we need to do to
avoid
make
that.
sure we're avoiding that and avoiding fines and anything that might happen.
Okay.
So sawmill lift station is critical, and then also wastewater treatment plant expansion and rehabilitation. So that was revised from our original report as well. Lori has spoken to your newest operator, we spoke to your prior operator, spoken to Randall, and have, I think, a good design option. I think she probably spoke to you a little bit about it at the late meeting last year. But total, that means nearly $7 million in construction, and with soft costs, non-construction costs, $8.3 million approximately, which is significant. So what does that mean for rates? So as you flip over it and funding, that might be possible. So there are basically 3 funding agencies that fund water and wastewater outside of a bank loan or maybe some smaller loan programs. Indiana Bond Bank has a program, but usually then they pair up with one of these other agencies. These are the 3 agencies that fund State Revolving Fund, SRF is what I typically call it, OCRA, which you already have heard about, and then USDA Rural Development I mentioned earlier as well. So right now, State Revolving Fund is the agency that receives all the bipartisan infrastructure law funds that Congress passed 4 years ago. So this coming year is the last year for these special congressional infrastructure dollars that are going to the state revolving funds and for water and wastewater projects. So if we submit a project here in next month, we would be in that potential period where we would potentially be able to leverage some of those subsidized funds, which means forgivable loan, i.e. grant, or a lower interest rate of some kind. So I think it's important to keep that in mind. It's the last year of special extra money that the federal government has set aside. It's not to say that they won't come up with another federal funding program in the next few years, but this is all we know about at the time. So I wanted to make sure to point that out. And we would need to submit our PER to SRF to be ranked and prioritized for that here in March. So that's why we're also proposing at your March 10th meeting, we'll have a public hearing about the drinking water project, and we'll also have one about this wastewater project. So we can notify the public formally, and it'll be a newspaper notice, etc. The other comments, the last 2 bullet points under SRF. SRF subsidy, it can be difficult to secure, but the agency also offers pooled funds. And this is why I especially wanted to say there's some flexibility if we need to scale back the project. But the unique thing about Indiana SRF is they get these funds from the federal government, but they have also used the funds over the year to build their own program where they will take the town of Versailles plus 2 or 3 other towns or 5 other towns, and they will take us out on the open market together to borrow funds at a lower interest rate than what you could get from just the local bank. Not other state SRF programs don't do that. So if we don't qualify for the best grant or subsidy, we could potentially go for these pool funds, and that's just another good option. And last but not least, one thing I'll mention is SRF nationally, Congress sets aside so much money for state revolving funds, same with USDA. What has happened nationally is that congressmen try to request earmarks for their special states and towns. And Indiana has not done that very much. In fact, I think Indiana's been on the losing end of SRF funds nationally because congressmen haven't been requesting it as much. It's just a conservatively financial state, typically not asking for as many earmarks. So that's why USDA and SRF funds in Indiana have actually been decreasing a little bit. But we do have a meeting, I think, set up to talk about with our congressman here about potentially, if we don't get into the regular funding with SRF, if there's a possibility that we can instead be part of the national earmark program, essentially. But the nice thing is the PER that we have done is part of that process. And what happens with those earmarks, even though they happen at the national level, they still have the state program manage it. So the same people that would be reviewing your study at the state already for the regular program are gonna be working with us for the National Earmark Funding, Congressionally Directed Spending is what it's called, CDS funding. So we're working all of those avenues and we sort of just have to start now. The PERs are due to the state revolving fund by April 1st. So by the end of next month, we would submit our study with the scope of work. By July, early July, what typically happens is SRF will turn around and say, okay, we've ranked and scored all of these PERs, these engineering reports we've received, and all the towns and utilities are now listed in this master list in score and rank. And these top portion might receive this funding, and then slowly they'll start reaching out to others in this list to say, we could potentially include you in either a pool or in our subsidized program. So that's what we want, is in July for them to tell us we can participate in their program. And if they do that, then, and by July also, we might know more about if we would be able to participate in congressionally directed spending. So we would submit our PER in March and kind of be in a waiting game. But while we're in the waiting game, the problem is when SRF says in July, okay, go, but you have to close a loan by basically the following February, March at the very latest. We as engineers have to have the project designed and ready to bid. So what we're also going to present in March, and we've talked to Baker Tilly about, is doing a bond anticipation note, which would be a small loan to allow the town to, in the meantime, have us as engineers start to design this wastewater project. So that's a big step that we'll have next month as well, is talking about signing an engineering contract to start designing this so that, as you see below in the schedule there, we could potentially receive bids in September, essentially, which is a pretty quick time frame. So, so things will move quickly on this, but I wanted to say I added a third column here just to show you, if we find out we get correct congressionally directed spending potentially, sometimes that if it goes a little slower, and we'll know a little bit more, I think, after we're able to have some discussions, it may push our bidding out another 4 months or 6 months. But we're kind of chasing the money, but we gotta also be ready for when they tell us what's available, and we know what our best option is.
Okay.
So, but we know you need to do the projects. We know, well, even the collection system, even if we scale it back, those same projects will eventually need to be done. It's whether or not they can wait a year, you know, and then we try and go after another grant or something. All of these projects, the scope needs to be done at some point. Like I said, the bottom 3 projects are the sawmill lift station, the Grand Creek and TP lift station, and the wastewater treatment plant are most critical to make sure we're not bypassing. But also the collection system work does need to be done to try and reduce those flows within the system. We found some storm sewers around town that are connected. So there's some things, but again, those are smaller projects that if we needed to peel them off later, we could. But I think that all needs to be designed now and ready to go, and we can, as we find out in July what our funding levels might be, or July, August timeframe, we can determine that point.
Okay. That makes sense.
So what does this mean for rates? So essentially what Baker Tilly has provided, and this is also why I brought you a list of other towns around the state, what their wastewater rates are. And even one of the rates that Baker Tilly listed in their study, I pulled their ordinance up and it's higher. It's in the $80, actually, Westport. I have the ordinance right here. So,
Okay.
but what does it mean? Your current user bill is $32.44 for 4,000 gallons. Which if you look at the other rates already, you are on the lower end of, let's see here, I'll go to the last page of that study. You can see, even from this, the state average right now for sanitary sewer is $56.12. So at $32, $20 below where even the state average is right now. And the other numbers that they provided there, just keep in mind that those folks have had that rate for sometimes several years already, so they're gonna have an inflationary increase at a minimum, if not something else coming up. And then this other sheet I provided you, I just wanted to give you some other examples of clients we have. I mean, some of these aren't our clients. One of them is the town I live nearest that I know has $64 rates already, and they have a $300,000 bond anticipation note to pay their engineers to design something right now, so they've got another increase coming, so. So your rates, as they would phase in, there would be a phase increase immediately to go to $49.20 for sanitary sewer. And then a phase 2 increase, which would go into effect January 1st of next year, of $65.96. And again, that would be helping, I think, to pay back some of that bond anticipation note that we would be taking out. And then a final rate increase probably next July to take rates potentially, and this is, again, if we don't get any other subsidy or forgivable loan or any other subsidy, of $82.72. All these numbers can be changed slightly based on what our final interest rate is, because, you know, interest rates have changed. They might go up, they might go down. Usually the financial advisors are pretty conservative and they put a number in there to kind of assume the higher end of an interest rate. So if we're able to get it a lower interest rate, then that could change that and bring it back down as well. So again, I think we can talk to Baker Tilly about at least approving the first 2 rate increases, which would fund that engineering design and fund those operational needs. And if we need to wait on the 3rd rate increase until we actually are gonna borrow money, then we could do that as well. But this is, again, sort of hopefully worst case scenario of where rates would be. And again, this would be based on 4,000 gallons. So your customers that don't use the full 4,000 gallons would not be paying this high of a number. It's sort of the state average. So,
Okay.
so what I guess we're proposing approval of is to so again, even if we submit our PER to SRF in March, and we find out in July, I mean, we can revisit all of this in July once we start learning more about potential funding sources. But with SRF, you do have to present what you think your project might be, and they will typically work with you if we need to scale back slightly, or but you do have to present what we think and be ready and prepared. If worst case scenario, would we be willing to go to that $82.72 to just keep it moving? So.
Okay. Well, I think we know everything that's in there, what's being proposed, we need done. You know, the water treatment plant, I think 2002 maybe was built, right along the two. I looked up some Tyson funding stuff today, and I noticed they got a $375,000, I think it was in 2003. And prior to that, they were getting $56,000 a year. So I figured, I knew it was early in the 2000s. So in any case, so to 2002 and 3 when it was built, and here we are, what, 4 years later, and there's never been a major overhaul of it. You know, we've been piecemealing, fixing it for several years now, and it, you know, the town has grown, the volume of sewage has grown, and we need to stop the issues. We need to put an end to it. So I think everything in the report that's been suggested is absolutely needed. So I don't know what you two think about. You know, I think the bond anticipation note's the way to go with that. We don't have to do that, thank goodness, for the water, but I think we'll have to do that just to get the engineering work done, because we don't have the money to shell out. You know, our sewer budgets, our account's not in very good shape. I mean, we've got money, but it's not nearly enough. So I think that, and I'm thinking we probably want to do incremental increases too, but I think we probably want to talk to them about staggering, so we're not doing the same things, you know, the same days. But so if I make that motion, somebody gonna say, I'm gonna make the motion that we move forward with the bond anticipation note, so we can get the engineering design and stuff done, and also 3 incremental rate increases. All in favor?
Aye.
That was a tough one. Aye. It was a tough one. It is. It's just really hard. You know, we don't want to do it, but we know we have to do it. We have to get this work done, and the sooner the better for everybody involved. So,
And we do have a meeting set with Aaron Tompkins' office
Yes.
on Thursday about the congressional directives sending, so.
Cross some fingers that we get some good news there, some encouraging news.
Like, he was very helpful, and like, when I told him our situation and where we were at in the process, he's like, all of this is really good, you're lined up, you're in position to be able to, like.
Yeah, because we've already been working on it for a year. You know, and it takes time, and sometimes when that money, we have found that out, when that money becomes available, if you're not ready, it's gonna take you a whole year to get ready, you're already out. You're not gonna get it. So we feel like we're in a pretty good position. It's not a good position, but we feel like we're in a pretty good position, at least maybe to get some low interest rates. We're gonna have to borrow the money, but at least maybe we'll get some decent interest rates.
And maybe some CPS.
And you just don't know, that's right, maybe we'll get a little more of that free stuff. So, okay. Anybody got questions, any other questions for Jill? Jill, you did a good job explaining, thank you, I appreciate that.
So you'll see us next month.
Yes, right, and
We'll
we'll
get
talk,
together.
we'll probably talk, well, I'll see you
Yeah.
Thursday for sure, so
Yes.
you'll be back.
All
All
right.
right, thank you. All right, have a safe trip home.
Yes.
Appreciate that. Whoa. Okay, I believe we're down to the more, I put more business on my thing here. Because we have more business, old business to take care of. And one of those things is the quote from Mills Fence. And this is to do the backstop, they're gonna kind of redo that, get that aligned properly, and 2 dugouts, correct? And that quote is for $11,675, right? So, anybody got questions about that? Randall's probably seen that quote, hasn't he? I mean, he knows. Have you seen that, Randall?
No.
Here, pass it over. All right. It's, I don't think there's any surprises on it. It's just, they're gonna tear that backstop is angled in at the wrong angle because of the building that we built over there. So anyway, they're gonna tear that out, straighten that up, and then build the 2 dugouts on that T-ball field, so. And Sarah's assured us that we've got money in the account to take care of that. She actually increased the budget for the complex because we knew we needed to do a little work out there. So I will entertain a motion to accept that bid.
Second.
I said I'd entertain the motion, you have to make it.
Make the motion to.
Very good. All right, all in favor? All right, very good. Next on our list is the ordinance that we were talking about. We've talked about this for a couple months, and that is we're trying to keep track of rental properties. And Lynn had recommended last month that, or not recommended, but certainly suggested that we did not have to, you can keep that, can't you? You'll probably tell me accept the bid, okay, she let you keep it. Lynn had suggested that maybe we just do the registration program, that we just get these rental properties registered. And of course, that all goes back to some findings from our comprehensive plan where we know our the number of rentals we have in the town are way beyond where they should be. And so we're trying to see where are these rentals and, you know, just keep things in check is what basically we're trying to do. So the question has arisen, we originally, in the original residential rental property registration, there was gonna be a $5 registration fee because there eventually will be inspections. We don't have any of that worked out yet. I'm actually working with Osgood and I believe Mylan's gonna join in. And we're looking to maybe hire a guy, somebody that will do inspections for all 3 towns, okay? That's not worked out yet. It's probably gonna be 6 months or longer down the road, maybe a year. So she had suggested maybe we kind of push that on the back burner till we get it figured out and just do the rental policy, which I'm thinking, the registration part of it. And I'm thinking that's a really good idea. The next part though then is the original, what we had outlined originally was a $5 registration fee per rental property. And that is not a per year, well, actually it is a per year thing the way it's laid out, but I want to talk about it. Because if the property stays in that person's name, do we really need them to re-register every year. If they come and they tell, because the way it's written, they have to come and tell us, they have to tell you if they have a different tenant, right? So they have to fill out another form with the new tenant's name on it and a contact number for that tenant. So they would be paying $5 for that, for a new tenant every time. I don't have as much of a problem with that as I have a problem with if you have a rental, you keep it up, you know, do you want to take $5 every year? And do we want all the paperwork too? I don't know. So I think those are things we should consider. And, you know, do we consider just not having a fee right now and enforcing a fee once we get to the point where we feel like there are some we need to start, you know, we need to inspect. The other option we could do on that inspection thing, some town or cities and towns do this. They charge that inspection fee right then and there. You know, so if we get a report from a tenant, let's say, that says, you know, my landlord won't fix XYZ, you know, I don't have a fire extinguisher or I don't have smoke alarms in my apartment, and my landlord refuses, we would probably want to inspect. And so if we were to inspect, do we charge the fee right then and there? I don't know. I was hoping maybe we would build a reserve that when we, you know, in a fund, that when we needed to inspect, we could go inspect and pay the inspector out of those funds. But I don't know if that makes sense at this moment, especially considering that we're gonna hike sewer water rates. I'm just gonna say it, because I have a problem with that, you know. Do I think there are apartments that probably need to be inspected right now? Yes. Or rental units? Yes, I do. I do. I can make a list probably. But do I think I want to charge everybody $5 just to tell me they've got a rental? I'm not sure about that part. And we don't have to make a decision tonight, but we got to make a decision next month, okay? So I think.
Do we have extra funding, you know, where we can?
Good question. You mentioned that earlier. You want to just kind of hit Sarah with what you were thinking.
Like, the ordinance money, what happened to that? We still have that in the budget?
Not really, since we kind of moved the position
But can we put it back in the budget for this?
for 2027. Budgeted.
So we could budget some money maybe for a part-time inspector, right? Okay. You like that idea, don't you? Yeah, I kind of do too. I kind of do too. Okay. So what do you think? Will you rearrange this and take that $5 off? Okay, I don't think we need to vote on that necessarily because that'll be next month when we actually, so I'll be in touch with Lynn too and see if we can get this ready, that we can go ahead and pass that next month then.
That was the first reading.
Well, I think there was something she talked about, well, no, she talked, yeah, I think she said suspension of rules. I think we could probably, maybe do that, I don't know, we will find that out. All right, I think you've got the next one, don't you? Historic Hoosier Hills. Got the letter.
You skipped the zoning.
Did I skip something? What did I skip?
The ordinance.
Oh, I did, I'm sorry. We're not really even gonna do anything with that. Let me just give you an update. The ordinance was submitted from the town of Versailles, the town of Osgood, the town of Milan, to the Ripley County Plan Commission. The tech committee reviewed, returned it with several questions, wanting responses from all the towns. Holly and I sat down one day and went through it, got things together. I shipped that back to Joe Jenner, who's the attorney that's representing all three of us. And we have a call, oh no, I got calls all week. I think it's tomorrow maybe. No, I think it's Thursday, because I think we got like 4 things going Thursday. But anyway, so Deb Shoemade, who's the town board president at Milan, and probably Tammy Wilhoit, maybe Steve from town of Osgood, and I will be on the call, and we'll go through those things, and then he's going to make those adjustments, and he will send that back to the planning commission. So, you know, that's kind of where we stand. So I just wanted you to know that. So nothing yet on that, but hopefully by next month we'll have that pretty much ironed out. Okay, now we'll go to what you have. Thanks for keeping me in line, by the way.
Actually, it was all of them.
Okay.
Historic Hoosier Hills submitted their request for what they call our dues for 2026.
$500 request, right?
Do you think that's-
Yeah, pass that one around. Let me see what that second page looks like. I
It's
have
just
the
the-
one, okay, yeah. So I did a little digging while you guys were looking. I did a little digging this today. And I found that there aren't any other,
No, we didn't.
we did not
We
pay them
did, that's
last
what I
year,
thought.
no. And, the counties, most of the counties in this area contribute, but the only town that has contributed was the city of Rising Sun. Yes, that was the only town that, and honestly, with everything else we have going on, okay, somebody make a motion. So we deny the request.
I make a motion to deny the request.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
That one, we're gonna pass on this year. Next under new business, I told you about this deal, we're almost done. Gosh. With Duke Energy, and that this has turned into quite a fiasco. So a couple months ago, because the last communication I had was 3.5 weeks ago, but a couple of months ago, Sarah got a proposed contract from Duke Energy that encompassed the 133 electric receptacles, outlets that we use for our Christmas decorations. And they wanted me to sign this contract, which would cost us $11,000 a year, have access to those 133 receptacles for about 5 weeks so we have them plugged in for Christmas decorations. Well, I didn't like that idea. So I requested a phone call with the intermediary guy and also with the guy that had proposed the contract. And I just kind of walked through it. You know, am I understanding this correctly? It's $11,000, and I told him I was unsatisfied with that, and then I would, if it were in front of me today at a vote, I would vote no, and I'd encourage the board members to vote no too. But anyway, I asked for an accounting of all the street lamps that we have in town, both the decorative lamps and the street lights, you know, the telephone poles. And I wanted to know their locations, and if they have electric receptacles on them, and whatever else. And so this guy started working on that. And I also told him that Sarah gets about 40 bills a month, which he said no. And I said, I'm telling you, yes, she does. Well, he emailed me back 2 weeks later, and said, you're right, you get a lot of bills. And he also said that the receptacles, he found a contract for a bunch of the receptacles, which I think is all of these decorative lights, and that's almost 60 of them that we have that we're already paying for, that they were going to charge us again for. Anyway, long story short, he told me that I should disregard that first contract. I thought I will disregard it, but I will keep it too. and then there was one other issue with, he had sent me a picture of a decorative light where there was a white wire running from the light itself down the side of the pole to the receptacle at the top of the pole. And it was obviously not Duke's work, which I think he was.
No, he said, he accused.
Well, he didn't actually outright accuse us, but was very much suggested that our people had rigged this up to make this work.
And we're like.
And I didn't know anything. I was on the first call and I didn't know any better. I said, I'll check with our guys. Well, I talked to Randall and I said, we didn't do that. The guys they contracted with did it. Duke's contractors did it. So I returned that message to him too. And he didn't reply to that in his last reply. But it's been 3.5 weeks. I have not heard any more, but that's where we stand with that. And I'm not paying him $11,000 to plug in the lights. I figured instead we could go the social media route. Say, we won't have lights this year because. But anyway, that's where we are on that. And 3 more things. Field conditioner quote, you got that?
Yeah.
You got it too? I probably have it too. Okay.
Randall will check with Danny on that tomorrow, what we
Okay.
do get. You want to everybody's all right with it.
We buy that every year,
Yeah.
so I don't know that we even need to make a motion, but I'll make a motion that we move on after he confirms what exactly we're
We
gonna
wanna
order,
wait
what
till
we
after
need.
the second
I'll make that
or
motion.
what?
What's that?
On the mountain, we'll wait.
Oh, no, on the mounds, I think we can do that, can't we?
I think, yeah.
But that was for the, I made a motion to go ahead and purchase the field conditioner and whatever else we need there. So I need a second. All right, all in favor? Aye. All right, and then the mounds, I think we can go ahead and do that, Sarah, you saw that, we're still okay, aren't we? Okay, and that would be 2 mounds and,
One's longer.
One's longer, okay, and these are coming from, where they come from?
Georgia.
Georgia, okay, very good. All right, I make a motion, we go ahead and do that. We're gonna need those will be used, on the fields for both the, rec league if they need them, but especially for the tournaments, that we hope we'll get more than one this year. We definitely have that one, so. All right, got that taken care of. And the next one on the list is Pangburn Park. And, this is kind of an interesting story, but Adam Gunter, right, contacted you a few weeks back and asked if there was anything we could do about, there's a broken, backboard up at Pangburn Park. It has been broken for better than a year, I know, maybe longer than that. We put new backboards up in about maybe 2017, maybe 18, and it lasted a few years before they busted it up. But in any case, we had, Main Street had some money left earmarked in our account that had been raised from a GoFundMe campaign that we did in about 2017. And also, Charlie Pangburn, whose dad the park is named after, Charlie Pangburn had donated money to us several different times, and so we had about $1,200 left. So we decided we would donate those. So I ordered, they are coming from London, England, believe it or not, but they are steel vandal-proof backboards. So they're steel with some holes in them. And I originally was gonna order breakaway rims and changed my mind on that, decided that might just entice them to hang even more. So we have those ordered and they are scheduled to come, although Randall, I'm gonna have to call them because they wrote down A22 instead of 822 on Water Plant Road. So I need to call them tomorrow and make sure they get the right address so we can get them. But they'll be in either next week, I think sometime, and just when the weather breaks. Work on getting those up. Justin Sturgeon, right? Justin Sturgeon? No, Brian Sturgeon. Justin Sturgeon has offered to, I know Brian Sturgeon in Lawrenceburg. I'm trying to make sure I know.
Make brackets if we need.
Yes, if we need brackets, he can get those, he can make those for us. But I think they'll come with brackets and it looks like the standard square pole that we already have. So I don't think that'll be a problem.
Have you ordered the rims already?
I ordered rims, yes.
This is for the basketball court?
Mm-hmm.
You may wanna go back to the breakables.
Breakaways.
Well, we're gonna try these and see. If we have to, those breakaway rims, they were $325. I know, but I'm worried.
They're breakaways.
Well,
Otherwise, they hang on hang on that solid rim, you may wind up screwing your back.
we'll watch them. We'll watch them really closely. That reminds me, Joe, we really need to check cameras, make sure we've got working cameras up there.
Well, let's go ahead and put in new.
Well, whatever, I don't know, get a quote, but we're gonna have to have cameras. The other thing that we're gonna try to do up there is that basketball court itself has been a mess. It's probably need to be, it's probably been 10 years it's been needed to be replaced. But we kind of patched it up there for a few years and it's not patched very well right now. It's got a huge crack down the middle, so Randall's checked with O'Meara. They are gonna give us a quote on that. Hopefully we can take that out of the park budget and get that part done too. And if we get in Randall, when you talk to Paul, wanna know a quote for how much and maybe a separate quote for the striping, because we've still got $300, $400 left in our account, but we could probably pay for the striping too. Main Street could. And then if town can take care of the asphalt, then we get it all fixed up, and I'll send Charlie Pangburn a note, tell him we got it fixed up. So, okay? And then last but not least, Gosh, we've got an issue on the square that I'm not, well, let me just explain what's going on. So, we've had some complaints from members of yesteryear about parking. Well, parking is an issue on the square right now, folks, because they're still working on the courthouse. And right now, the entrance to the courthouse is over there on the south side, I guess that is, right? And therefore, a lot of the people that work in the courthouse are parking on Tyson Street because it's a shorter walk for them, okay? Now, that's supposed to be done by May or June, I think. So hopefully that situation is gonna resolve itself. But they put up some no parking signs in front of their business. And we had the issue once before and had a chat, and had them taken down, and now they're back up. And I haven't been over there to talk to him because I haven't seen Brenda's car, but I need to get over there and chat with her. We kind of had an agreement amongst ourselves, and when I say that, Holly and I and others that have been involved in the rejuvenation of the square, that we were not going to permit any more of those no parking signs. And we have a couple over at Emily's Brew that have been grandfathered in. They were done before they even purchased the business. They were done when Greg still owned that business years ago. And so I'm going to have a talk with her about that because we need to get it removed. So I guess the thing that really kind of got us was they put the signs up, and then one of the employees turned around and parked in front of another business down on the square. That's like, wait a minute. You know, you don't want them parking in front of yours, but it's okay for you to park in front of somebody else's. So we'll have that conversation, and hopefully no issues, but I wanted you two to know about that, and I also wanted your thoughts on anybody else's thoughts about what we do. I mean, I think once the courthouse is done, it's not a problem, you know? And I think, generally speaking, you work at a business, you work at the grocery store, you work at Walmart, you work wherever, they tell you, you gotta park out, so your customers have the prime spots. So they need to either park across the street, or like Laura does with Novel Heart, she parks around the corner. It's a short little walk. So anyway, we've just gotta work together on this and make sure that everybody, I just think we gotta work together on this. And so, anyway, any thoughts? Josh is like, it's a woman thing. I can tell what he's thinking. Okay. Anything I am forgetting?
Nothing to forget.
Oh. What's that?
That is for one computer for one police car.
And what exactly is not working? A $3,800 laptop?
It ain't even a laptop.
What is it?
It's like an iPad type thing. It's a rugged book. It's a tablet.
No.
That's what's going in all the first responder vehicles now from Coventech. That's what they're recommending.
All right.
Yeah, that's for one.
It's got the money in the police fund. I mean, you're talking $9,000.
That's just for that. There's printers and scanners and.
Well, do you need printers and scanners in the police cars? Vehicles?
And print tickets on site, right?
I don't know what happened to those little pads that they used. The guy that told Bob over here a while back had a pad just about 2-3 weeks ago.
Tell them him, but not on her.
Is it just one people don't have it, or what? Or both of them will need it?
The pads, they don't last that long. And it's, the lady at Totec told me it was because the extreme hot, the extreme cold, and blah, blah, blah. They're not designed to be in a vehicle. And she's putting these in fire trucks and first responder vehicles and said nobody's got any problems with them. I haven't had
Anthony, we're still running like it's 1970s.
He's got some.
Are you writing these tickets, Ben?
She looked at it. We don't have any infrastructure.
I think that's high, but she said that that's what they're recommending because they're rugged and, you know, they're designed to take the temperatures and
So the money there is there.
everything else.
Do you have one out now, or like you need
I
one?
didn't say one, that's for one.
I know, is one out now that it needs?
Two are out.
Two are out now? So you
And
have to.
due to the
that's
expense, I have not replaced
Yeah,
it.
so you have to replace them regardless, like.
Don't have to.
Okay,
Not at all.
okay,
I've been going without one for a while. I get good money.
okay. But at this point, like, to be digital, you have to do something. You either need to buy a computer or that. Okay. So what have you been
Well,
doing with that one?
Do we have to spend the money? I don't think we do.
So what are you asking for? I mean, what's a?
I had a conversation
What are
with
you
someone,
asking?
wanted me to start writing tickets, and that's what it's gonna cost.
And that was me, okay? Because twice in the last 6, 8 weeks, if I had gone through that intersection there at that stoplight, when my side turned green, I would have been broadsided by a semi. And I have seen it, I have heard it way too many times, and people need to slow down.
And tickets.
And if they don't slow down on their own, then you slow them down.
And that's also with the people running stop signs and things like that, speeding it down.
Yeah, that's another one.
There's
Pull
a
out
lot
a
of-
Dollar General, pull out right in front of us,
Yeah.
every time you go up the road. That and the grocery store.
And there's a
Just
lot of people
pull up
speeding
and
down
just
our
take the right
street too.
turn. So, yeah, that was.
There's no stop sign there, but you know what
What's
I'm
that?
talking about. There's no stop signs at Dollar General or.
Well, I know that, but the law of the road is you stop. Okay, I don't care if there's not a stop
100%.
sign. You know, if you pull out in front of somebody, you're just lucky that I don't have a tank.
And also, while we're talking, I want 4 more sets of speed bumps for Army Bridge.
4 more?
4 more.
Lord, where are they going now?
Well, they're gonna be up around your place.
You
Two
slowed
in
them
each
down.
cul-de-sac.
As
Two
far
in
as,
each
I don't know,
cul-de-sac.
where have you noticed?
Well, I haven't been out there as much.
Right,
so I've been
right.
out there so much.
Let's wait and see what happens in the spring, if those are really needed, because I think it did slow some people down, didn't it?
I do.
I thought
I
it
do think
did.
it
I thought
It
it
didn't slow them all down from what I'm being told.
did. Okay.
But back to the, are you saying that you cannot write issue tickets as is?
I can.
Okay.
Like, everything's digital now. So if you don't have the printer and stuff in the vehicle, I go back to the office and then I drop it in the mail or whatever.
So you can do
Check
that
the
as a way
budget,
to sort
and
out.
we'll talk about it next month. Okay, we just need to know a little bit more on that. Okay, anything else?
Yes, me.
Oh.
Sorry. You got me distracted. I have another water leak adjustment. It was a
Oh.
service line. The adjustment is $426.06. And this is on my phone bill showing that she got it fixed.
Okay, so she had a water leak, and we're the wastewater adjustment, okay, because it did go down the sewer, it was leaking on the ground, whatever. And so we would return $126.06 to her, is that right? I don't have a problem with that, no problem. I'll make a motion that we, approve that water leak adjustment, or actually wastewater adjustment. All right, all in favor? Very good. All right, anybody else think of anything they forgot? Because it's already 8:44, I wanna go home. I'm gonna make the motion that we close the meeting. All right, all in favor? All right. I knew that was gonna be long.
I'm missing my.
So,
Good.